The Bedlam baseball beatdown at Obrate was absolutely beautiful. Dear baby Bedlam brother, step aside, peasants. You're just in the way.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen here on Locked On Oklahoma State. You can find me on Twitter at Oldeo State. We are available on every single podcasting platform, as well as visually on the good old-fashioned YouTube. Dang, it feels good to be a gangster. And anytime you beat the ever-living tar out of your baby Bedlam brother, it is fun. Do we get to call them baby brother in football? No, we don't. So it is nice to be able to have that fun with them in, I don't know, almost every other sport, except for gymnastics, probably because we don't have gymnastics. It is what it is. Their football reign is about to come to an end to some degree. Now, I seem to be in the minority here. I do hope they're actually pretty successful in the SEC because I do think that makes us look better. Now, I understand there's part of the crowd that's like, Cody, it doesn't really matter what OU and Texas do in the SEC. People are still going to find ways to throw shade at the Big 12. Okay, that's fine. But in Brett Yormark, we trust. And if you hear some of the grumblings that are going on at this very moment, it's not really news per se, because we've been we've been hashing it away for a couple months. This is an inevitability. Brett Yormark's gonna expand the Big 12. We're gonna take over what we want out of the Pac-12. The ACC seems to be in shambles. Apparently, they might reach that threshold where they have enough people that'll vote them to get to that 80% threshold to get them out of their grant of rights deal. All of this stuff is in motion, and the Big 12 is clearly going to reap the benefits. The Pac-12 is a massive struggle bus, and it's just so funny. If you go look at any Pac-12 media people, they are planting their flag in the hill of why would anybody leave to go to the Big 12? The Big 12 is a glorified JUCO conference and this and that and the other. It's posturing, and I implore you all to have fun with it. Poke fun at the little baby back Bush League bear that is the Pac 7.5. So if you have articles and things of that nature from the Pac 7.5 talking crap, feel free to send them my way on Twitter. Sometimes it's fun just to kind of spice up the cabinet a little bit. And before we get on to this wonderful Bedlam baseball beatdown at Obrate Stadium in Stillwater, Oklahoma, some of the discussions yesterday were, I don't know, ironic to say the least. It's a lose-lose proposition. If you let out some of the internal issues, you're a Gundy hater and you're bad for the university and you make us look bad, so on and so forth. But then on the other hand, if you call a spade and you praise Gundy for the handling of a disgruntled player that shouldn't have been disgruntled, then it gets thrown the complete opposite side. This is all Gundy's fault. It is wild how fans, we sometimes ride the serious, crazy levels of emotion of a roller coaster. And we do it to our daggone selves. Like, I get it. But being objective, it's got to be part of the gig. Gundy has been amazing, but Gundy's also been his own detriment, right? And just like we kind of talked about Josh Holliday the other day, I think this new side of Gundy is going to show dividends this season. I know it has thus far inside the locker room, and we're still not anywhere near where we need to be. And we're not going to know where we stand until fall. But all you can do is put the pieces back, comparatively speaking, to other seasons. And if you want to go back to last season, the spring last season was like fighting with a one arm tied behind your back. That's what last season's spring is. So I just, I didn't think that it was going to be super smooth, but I also had a lot of faith in the returning coaches and the returning talent. And things just got out of hand. This season, I think it should be different because you have those guys like your Xavier Bensons, like your DeAndre Jacksons, that have, again, taken those steps to be the leader, to be the voice in the locker room, to hopefully curb any dissension. You're not going to make everybody happy. Like that. That's never going to happen in any walk of life. So what you have to do is learn to adapt and overcome. That's all it is. So I'm not praising or bashing anything that doesn't have direct correlation to film or sideline or repercussions in recruiting, so on and so forth. So again, let's be okay. We're calling a spade. Right now, Gundy is killing it. He is doing a very, very good job. And y'all know it is crazy for me to always be back in my Gundy recently. But again, it's about growth. And I've seen this a couple of people say, excuse me, Cody, Mike Gundy doesn't change, right? He's a creature of habit. Why do we expect him to change enough for this season to be any different? Well, I think you have to trace back that statement. It's not entirely true. Mike Gundy has changed multiple times. The caveat is he didn't do it willingly. And I don't give 13 hoots. Do you care at the end of the day whether it's willing or forced upon him? If a change occurs and it equals better production, better recruiting, better relationships, then I'm all for it. I think we would all be all for it. 2010, hiring Dana Holgorsen was not his choice. It was not. They had a very contentious relationship, and it started from the get-go. He was forced to make a change, and then that change resulted in the adaptation of the offensive scheme that Brandon Weeden was able to pick up. Speaking of Brandon Weeden, he was just on a pod on OSU Max. I implore you to go check it out. It's freaking awesome. But yeah, him being forced to understand that this offensive system was going to be able to fit us best because it was going to be able to mask some of the deficiencies that we had. Brandon Weeden was allowed to then correlate all of that to Todd Monken the next year. So that forced change equaled the 2011 success. 2014, I'm sure you guys have heard reports out there that T. Boone had the checkbook ready for Gundy's walking papers. But Bedlam, of all things, ironically enough, saved that whole thing from taking place. We can thank Bob Stoops. We can thank Tyreek Hill. We can thank Mason Rudolph. That he got more opportunities, right? And he had to change. He was forced to do some things out of his comfort zone, like playing Mason Rudolph at the time when we still could have held his red shirt. And I'll be honest with you, I think there was a decent amount of us that maybe wished he would have held the red shirt, right? So that was a precarious situation for Gundy to be in, and he did answer the call. 2018 was, a result of him making some changes in 2017. And then you saw it again in 2020 with the COVID stuff and the OAN shirt, the Chuba Hubbard stuff, all of that, right? Again, it was a forced change, but nonetheless, it made him take a step back and look at how he analyzed everything, how he put everything together, how he handled the locker room and communication with the players and the things that he said outside of the locker room. These were all areas that he was able to grow. And then with COVID tied into it, he was also able to manipulate the practice scheduling in ways that he'd never, ever, ever, ever even dreamed of doing. Rotating your 1s, 2s, and 3s almost evenly was unheard of until 2020. So again, we have seen Gundy change. Is it willingly? No, not so much. But to me, it doesn't matter. If your boss forces you to change because what you're doing doesn't work, you can hem and haw all the way home about it. But if you come back the next day and you do what you need to do, even if you don't like it, and then you see the productivity, you see the change, then everybody's happy. Your bosses are happy. The clients are happy. Everybody's a happy camper. And I think we might be in that situation right here, right now. Right here, right now. If I was a betting man, I'm going to bet that this season's going to be better than most people think. So again, I'm going to say it till I'm blue in the daggone face. Go to FanDuel, find Oklahoma State's over and under, and bet the over. I mean, if you try to wait until we're 5-0 to do it, you're going to be missing out on some money, honey. Get it done now. Go to FanDuel. It is America's #1 sportsbook betting partner. And again, we're all about this baseball conversation with this beautiful Bedlam beatdown. Grand slams, no-nos, perfect games, double plays, walk-off homers. All of that is up to play. Roc Riggio dropping a bomb, doing the Sam Chow bat flip in front of the OU dugout. That is priceless. These are priceless moments that you can't miss. And also, you can't miss your opportunity to make some money. So go right now to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. Our new customers can step up to the plate today and get $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not win. Again, go to FanDuel.com/lockedon, place your first bet, get that $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first one doesn't win. Do not miss this chance. When you sign up today at FanDuel, FanDuel.com/lockedon. Again, that is FanDuel.com/lockedon. Sign up today because it is the official sportsbook partner of Major League Baseball. And we have several Cowboys right now on this roster that you will see have an opportunity to play Major League Baseball. Juron Watts-Brown being one of them. Roc Riggio obviously being one of them. I think Zach Earhart, if he wouldn't have dealt with so many injuries, he would be in that classification. Marcus Brown, he's kind of an oddity. This summer, he was on fire. Absolutely on fire. Won a bunch of awards. And you're talking like the Cape Cod League. So these are, again, you're playing against the top talent, future Major League, AAA, AA, Single A type of dudes, guys that are going to be able to play baseball for a living until they retire, regardless of what level. And he's been good, especially defensively, but he hasn't, in my opinion, done as much as the plate that maybe the prognostication said he would. And then obviously we have Nolan McLean. Hopefully he gets healed up in time for at least a super regional. Being healed up in time for regional would be amazing, but nonetheless, if we can get him back before the super, we're going to be okay. And then you're talking about injuries, which is what makes this season somewhat understandable. Again, we talked yesterday about Josh Holliday's inability to capitalize since 2014. I know 2017, 2018, right? I understand winning the Big 12 tournament is pretty cool too. But he came in and started with his hair on fire. In his second year, we go to Omaha, win a super regional. We've won the Big 12 a couple times. He's done some things. Our recruiting is absolutely insane. We have the nicest baseball stadium in all of college baseball. And we're doing what we're doing with backups. Like, that's something I have to even kind of take a step back and remember. When we started off the season, Aiden Miola was our third baseman. And according to Tom Holliday, Aiden Miola may be the best third baseman we've had in his son's time in Stillwater, point blank, period. So we're getting robbed of seeing how talented Aiden Miola is. We saw flashes of it last year as a true freshman. But this year, he was going to be the guy at third base. Well, and then you've had Wulfert step up, and he looks like an everyday starter at third base, which tells you when your backups are that good, you should not be struggling as much as we have been, especially with pitching rotation. Yesterday, the pitching rotation was not phenomenal, but it didn't need to be because we showed up and raked, y'all. We brought our bats with us for this one. And, of course, it got loud. It got chippy. And I do have to give it hats off. Almost 7,000 fans at O'Brate on a Tuesday night. Well played. Hats off. Good job. That was a fun one. That was a really fun one to watch. And they got tight there for a while, but when Roc Riggio dropped that bomb and did the bat flip to put us up by 4, it felt like the game was over. And then poetic justice, the Oklahoma State pitcher that transferred to OU, he got tore up last night, y'all. And the fans let him have it. They let him. Matter of fact, I'll be honest with you, I kind of almost felt bad for him at one point in time, because after, David Mendham smacked one in the right field and drove home multiple runs, it was like that poor kid kept getting kicked in the face, and his coaches kept letting it happen. Now, I understand in pitching, you kind of want to put your pitchers in situations that force them to mature. But Kale Davis is not new to the game. Kale Davis has been doing this for a while. Kale Davis knew where to pitch us and where not to. He just couldn't do it. So it looks like between Ben Abrams leaving OU and coming to Oklahoma State and Kale Davis leaving Oklahoma State and going to OU, I really hate that this is a trend that we now have to talk about in multiple sports. It is very frustrating. I don't like it, but it is what it is. It's good to win that battle. Until last night, Ben Abrams and Kale Davis had comparable ERAs, right? Kale Davis was like 7.04 ERA. Meanwhile, Ben Abrams is like a 6.55. But Ben Abrams has been a Saturday, Sunday type of guy. I know we really need Juron Waltz-Brown to be that Friday type of guy, even though last Friday, it is crazy, guys, to think that you can have 10, 11, 12 Ks, but it still not be a very great performance. We've seen Juron Waltz-Brown deal and dominate. We've also seen him struggle. So consistency is an issue. But just like we talked about with Wulfert stepping up and doing very, very, very well at third base. Not only serviceable, but again, well. But Aiden Miola does a little bit more. So if we had Aiden Miola, maybe this is a different conversation. Luckily, we're fine. And Aiden Miola's backup is really, really, really flipping good. So that's beneficial. And then, Zach Earhart, he was hurt for most of the year. He got forced back into playing just in the last week and a half, not really because he was ready, but because we needed him to be. Jackson Kroll is a really good small ball guy who played a lot last year, had some taken away from him this year. And now, again, due to injuries, he's back into getting a lot of playing time. Brendan Holt transfers from LSU, comes to Oklahoma State to do what? To be a backup. He's somebody that we can kind of squeeze in there for a small ball type of guy. But he has some power. He has hit a home run already this year. He's hit a couple doubles. David Mendham, the first baseman from Canada, Dayton our ace on softball, Miss Kelly Maxwell. His hitting has improved tremendously this season. Which, when you're a power or bust team, having your big-bodied first baseman hitting multiple doubles, that's awesome. And then another backup. Guys, Chase Adkinson had himself a game. Chase Adkinson is the backup catcher to Ian Doherty. I didn't think Ian Doherty was going to be out this long. And another Summer League all-star, Ian Doherty was that guy. So it was going to be his job, right? You knew you had a serviceable guy that you could rotate in. But instead of that, we've had to rely on 33 all year. And most of the season, there was a reason he was batting in the 9 hole. But kind of like David Mendham, recently, you've seen a very good uptick, right? We're trending in the right direction with some players. Now, if we can piece it all together, that would be great. We got to give a shout out to Evan O'Toole. Comes out, pitches 4 1/3. He's looked pretty good at times this year. Kind of like Brian Hendry. At times they look dominant. At times you're kind of confused. Now we've got a series with KU. We should 100% sweep that series. If we lose a game to KU, something went very wrong. And that's not to dog on KU. They're just nowhere near the same hemisphere as we are in baseball. West Virginia, they're in the same hemisphere, but they should not beat us in a series. Okay, they did. So crazier things have happened. But sweeping KU should be the expectation, 100%. If we can hit like we did last night, we can beat darn near anybody. We've got the pitchers to do it. We've got the middle relievers. It's just about the timing of when we put them in. We're leaving the string too long on these guys. Is there anybody not named Nolan McLean and maybe Juron Watts-Brown that you're super confident rolling him out there inning after inning, regardless of kind of what's happening? We do seem to have that confidence in people not named Nolan McLean and Juron Watts-Brown. I don't understand why, but it is what it is. I digress. We got to sweep KU, and now we need Texas to get upset a couple times. It is what it is. But last night was an indication that when we show up to play, we are a super regional Omaha-style team. Problem is, we don't know when we're going to show up to play, and neither does our head man. But we needed this. We talked about it yesterday. We had to have this W. They needed it to avoid the dreaded 500 number. We needed it because we got to kickstart ourselves before we close the home stretch of the regular season. Winning the Big 12 regular season title, it looks very difficult, but it's still there. It's going to take a couple upsets, and it's going to take us to have a couple sweeps, including, I think, sweeping OU would be a pretty big indication on how we're going to stack up going into the postseason. We're not peaking at the right time per se, right? Matter of fact, it's been a downward trend. But maybe last night is what we needed to kind of kickstart everything. This is an Omaha-level talent. We have an Omaha-level style of team. We're just so inconsistent. It's like watching Mike Boynton out there. And then softball. It's all about peaking at the right time. But as we just lost another game to Wichita State. Wichita State they're good. Wichita State is going to surprise some people. They're going to make some noise in the postseason. They just are. They hit phenomenal. But again, we should not lose to them, especially twice in a season. If you can mow down most of everybody in the Big 12, you should be able to beat Wichita State and Iowa State. Iowa State, they're a decent softball club, and they have played a top 5 schedule up to this point. But the disrespect, we should feel that, and we should make sure it doesn't happen again because, not only did the Iowa State softball team go to the West Virginia Oklahoma State baseball game and cheer on West Virginia, they're supposedly elbow checking and kind of starting some crap with some people. And then watch what they did Sunday. They cleared the bench. They literally, I think they have like 21 players, and they played 20 of the 21 players. They literally cleared out all stops to beat us. And that's what it took to beat us. But resiliency, we didn't find a way to get her did. And why we threw in Kelly Maxwell, knowing that she had that scab that ripped on her finger, didn't make a lot of sense. Maybe Kara Aycock could have rolled the whole game. Maybe we should have tried Lexi Kilfoyle. Maybe we should have gave Ivy Rosenberry a little bit more PT. I don't know. But putting Kelly in there didn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense, and it didn't work out. So this has been a few games now where softball, we have struggled mightily in hitting the cotton pick in softball. So both baseball and softball are not peaking at the right time. Both seem to be on a little bit more of a downward trajectory, like nothing massive. Oklahoma State and OU should still most likely be the two teams, if the bracket's set up right, that play for a national title. And how cool would that be? Bedlam for a national championship. If the committee does the brackets right, which I would assume they would want to do that, especially it being in Oklahoma City, especially with OU leaving the Big 12, right? There's a lot of storylines there to take advantage of. So hopefully that happens, and that should still happen. But we got to respond. We got to rebound, because this is not a great time to go catch Texas in Texas, right? Because it goes OU, OSU, Texas. That's it. Is sweeping them likely? No. No. Should we win the series? Absolutely. But trust and believe they will be riled up and fired up for this one. Hopefully we're prepared. Hopefully Kelly Maxwell, it's a minor, technically minor. Anything on your pitching hand, right? It's not necessarily minor because you got to get grip, but she's got a cut, ripped open a scab or something, so she can't grip the ball right. Doesn't seem to be a major issue, but it's Texas. Like, we need Kelly Maxwell. I don't know that we can beat Texas with just Lexi Kilfoyle and Kyrie Aycock. I don't know. I mean, we barely see Ivy. It's going to be a fun one. We still have time, both softball and baseball, to catch a little bit of a hot streak here, right? And we should, because we can. And last night showed us that in baseball. Softball, we trust Coach Kenny G. We're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. This is either going to put us backwards, this trip to Austin, or it's going to reinvigorate everybody and put us back on the right track. The same with KU and baseball. You got to sweep these dudes. You have to sweep these dudes. You have to. I know that's on the agenda, so I hope it happens. All right, y'all. We've got a lot coming up, so stay tuned. We'll be back to talk about, we'll do cornerback position probably next as far as the breakdown. We've also got some new commits to talk about. I haven't broke down the film except for on one of them. So, yeah, we'll wait a little bit on that. But we've got a lot on tap and a lot to cover still yet. And then we've got another spring finale on April 15th that we had a spring finale April 15th that we still haven't exactly talked about. So, all righty, y'all. I love you all. God bless. Go Pokes. And until the next one, thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen here on Locked On Oklahoma State. See you later.